Hi, we are on top of the hour, and I am going to start to record and to have this show today. This is my second show in live in the Hive in BeeKonnected, and I am so happy I can be here, and I thank you who are listening and watching right now. If you remember last week, I talked about natural quick fixes, the ones that you have always have in your hand. It's always there, and they cost nothing, and yes, they are just so valuable. I talked about the breathing exercise, I talked about moving your body, and I talked about the mini meditation, and that they actually help you to be in the now when stress comes creeping up on you. And today I wanted to talk about what is stress, but you're not really aware of it. Because most people think that stress, that's all the things that I have on their to do list. It's the never ending things coming and going, and you don't see the bottom of it. And that makes you feel stressed. And also it can show up in so many ways, and some of them you're not really aware of, that it's the stress that is knocking on your door, because it it's not obvious to you, and you have to recognize the signs, and you have to understand where it comes from. And it's also spiced with all the feelings you have when you don't have control of your situation. And I have put together 5 big signs that you can look for in your life and in your employee's life, or in your family, for that sake, anyone, talking about what stress is, that you are in stress mode. So 5 things. And the first one is when someone close to you say, "Are you having a drink again? You had one for just about every day for a long time now, and you usually don't drink that much." And alcohol is such a super duper tranquilizer for the moment. And that's why so many people use that as a self medication, because it's so easy. You just take a drink and you feel, I am so relieved, and my problem seems so far away. But you do forget what you actually are supposed to do. And if you get a little worried about that, you take another drink and another one. And it's hard to see where to stop. And too many people drink too much before they realize that they actually are dependent on it. And it also seduces you to believe that it's doing you good, but it's not, because it's hurting you from the inside out. So when you start drinking too much and people start talking about it, or you see somebody else, that's a sign on stress. That was the first one that I wanted to talk about today. The second one is when someone asks you, "What's the matter with you? You are always so angry. Why are you so angry nowadays?" And you answer in a very grumpy tone, "Nothing is the matter. I'm not angry." Even though you know deep inside that, yes, there is a feeling that is not really the good one that I do want to have, but you just can't pinpoint it. And so your immediate response is that people are bugging you, and you see that you feel or believe that they want something bad for you. and that they are pushing you down when they actually are trying to help you to see that you actually are getting grumpy in a way that you usually aren't, and that it doesn't really suit you that much as if you are the nice person that you usually are. And when you are stressed, you have a hard time to structure your thoughts, and the lack of control that feeds your anger. So anger is a sign to look for. That was the second one. Now we have the third one. And the third one, that is if you are all of a sudden having headaches every other day, maybe every day, and you usually never have headaches. And where do they come from? And first you think it might be a cold or something, but then you realize, no, I don't have a cold. It's something that is not supposed to be there. And this kind of headache is called tension headache because it's all the little muscles you have all over your head that are strained in tension when you are stressed out. And the best way to treat that is to relax, to try to take it easy. But the way that that so many people treat this is that they ask Mr. Google, I have a headache and I usually don't have a headache. So Mr. Google, please tell me what's the matter. And then you get the answer, this must be a brain tumor. And you start getting even more worried, and you focus on that instead of on your leadership and on being relaxed, and you get worried, and it won't leave you until you have visited a doctor to get some relief from the doctors saying this is actually just tension in your head or on your head, outside your head. That's where it is. And when you get that off your mind, then you're good to go again. So headaches that comes on a person that usually don't have headaches, or if you hear someone in your staff or someone around you who starts complaining about headaches every day, take a look and see about how stressed they are, because that is a very early sign, getting a lot of headaches. Also stomach aches, actually, if people start complaining about stomach ache, that is also often a sign of stress and overthinking and overmuch. And then you can also ask Mr. Google, and Mr. Google gonna say you have cancer in your gut, even though it's not at all that. The fourth one that I want to mention for people who are stressed out, and the signs that you're looking for, and that's when you hear yourself saying often enough, I forgot, or I can't remember, and more than one time a day, and you feel you forget where you put things, you forget the keys, your phone, your meetings, your notes, your purse, anything. And the list of what you can forget can be very, very long. And when you are stressed out, your brain cannot concentrate, it gets overloaded, and it shuts down, and you actually don't remember where you put all those things. And that's why we forget, because it's overloaded up here. And surprisingly many people believe that they are getting dementia, even fairly young ones. And I can say that is not the common cause. The common cause is actually being stressed out. And it's only when you are a little bit older that dementia is something that you actually can consider. But forgetting is very, very, very common with stressed people. So that's number 4. So now we have 4. And then we have the 5th one that I want to talk about today. And because I just want these shows to be short and sweet, with a few things to learn each time, so that you can actually use them and start doing them and not get overwhelmed by too much information. The 5th one is the one where you start to redoing your tasks over and over. You try to do it faster and faster and faster. And then the more you try, the more faults you're going to make, and the more you have to redo it. And you do it over and over and over again. And then you start telling yourself that you're no good, and you can't really do things, and your self-confidence is going down. And in the end, you give up on things because you just don't get through it, because you have to do it over and over. And the stress hormones, and they are set to help us see if there is a danger around the corner. And the more you start worrying about it, the more stress hormones you're going to have, and the more dangers you're going to see around the corner, even if there aren't any. So it makes us hurry up even more, and you are in a bad circle going downwards, and we do things hastier and hastier and more sloppy and more sloppy. And what we really need to do is to slow down, take one step at a time, be here and now in the moment, focus on what you're doing, and it might take a little longer, but you will do it right every time. And if you do it right every time, it's going to save you so much time in the long run. So those are the 5 things that I wanted to share with you today. And because they are simple and very common signs when stress is playing tricks with us. And since it creeps up slowly, it's sometimes a bit hard to see and understand, and to connect it actually with it being stress. We often see it as faults in ourselves, because how we are made. And we don't see it as the sign for the stress that is actually catching up on us. And therefore, it's also much easier to see in other people than in yourself. You can see that your employees, your partner, your family, or your relatives, or your friends, or whoever have these signs that I've just talked about. And your mission then will be to actually go and tell them what you see. And when I say that you should do it or can do it, I will also say that it's not an easy task, because as I said before in these tips, it's hard to see in yourself that you actually are in this state, and you don't want to see it. We don't want to see ourselves as failures. So we kind of try to hide for ourselves and for the people around us. But if you want to do something good for yourself, is to be aware of these tips. And if you kind of get the feeling that some of these things are popping up in your life, and you actually take a step back and think, What did Dr. Annika say? Yes, she said, take it easy, take a step back, just breathe, use those tips that I taught you last week, and then you can start doing changes so that you don't end up in these situations over and over and over again. And you can do this with your work group. And if you're a business leader, it's important that you actually try to look for these signs, because then you can save your employee, you can save your department or your business, and you can save the company, and it will save money for everyone in the end. Yes, that's what I was going to talk about today. So a very, very quick recap. If I say those 5 tips, if you start drinking more than you usually do and somebody tells you, that's the first one. The second one is when someone says to you, what's the matter? Why are you so angry? And you really understand you are getting angry. That's the second one. The third one is when you get headaches over and over and over for no reasons. The fourth one is when you start saying to yourself, I forget, or I can't remember, and you don't know where you put stuff. And then the fifth one is when you have to redo things over and over and over again. So those were my 5 simple tips for today, and I will come back with new tips next week. Same channel, maybe not exactly the same time. You will have to look in the back office of BeeKonnected in the Hive. But on July 5th, somewhere around this time, there will be more tips for how to stay calm and to have a calm leadership. Thanks for today.